I know we've been getting a lot of questions on what's going on with Duncan v. Bonta, with the Bruen decision and then the Supreme Court's decision to vacate and remand the case back to the Ninth Circuit. Can you give us an update, just a total top to bottom update on what's happened, where Duncan is now, and what the path is going forward?
Yes, let me start with the bottom line because we're getting a lot of questions about this. The case made a tortured, circuitous route through all the courts and courts of appeal. I'll describe that in a second. In the meantime, right now, it's back in the district court in front of Judge Benitez again. People are asking, can we now buy, purchase, import, transfer, trade magazines that can hold over 10 rounds? No, you can't yet. So do not try and buy any. Do not, from your friends or anybody else, don't transfer them. Don't give them away. Don't take them. It's not legal to import them or to buy them yet or to sell them yet. It is, however, still legal to possess them, provided you got them and were grandfathered in the first law that passed years ago, and you had them from before the law that banned their possession going forward, or you got them during CRPA's Freedom Week, that week when Justice Benitez's injunction was in place and banned both laws, both the possession and the importation ban. For a week, both those laws were enjoined. It took the DOJ a week to get the Ninth Circuit to reinstate half of that injunction. So if you bought a magazine that holds over 10 rounds during Freedom Week, you can keep it. It's legal to possess it, but you cannot yet sell it or buy new ones until we get a final ruling from Judge Benitez. But folks need to remember how this is, what are we, 3 years into this? We started in Judge Benitez's courtroom. We got a great ruling from him, a win, saying both of these statutes are unconstitutional, violations of the Second Amendment. That went up to the 3-judge panel in the Ninth Circuit. We won again. That was huge because the Ninth Circuit has typically been stacked against us. The composition has changed with some Trump-appointed judges. But naturally, the Ninth Circuit doesn't like it when you win a gun case, as some of the Trump-appointed judges have pointed out. So they took it up to what's called the en banc panel, an 11-judge panel. And at the 11-judge panel, we lost by a slim majority. So we took it to the United States Supreme Court, and it sat in the Supreme Court while the Bruen case was litigated. Once the Bruen case was decided, the Duncan case, the Young case, which was CCW in Hawaii, the Maryland Black Rifle case, was it Maryland or Massachusetts? And the New Jersey 10-plus round magazine challenge were all taken by the Supreme Court. The lower court losses were vacated, in other words, wiped out. The court said those decisions are wrong, sent all 4 of those cases back down, including Duncan, to the circuit courts of appeal, and told the circuit courts of appeal, redecide your case now based on what we just held in the Bruen decision. So the news that we just got recently about Duncan was that the Ninth Circuit, rather than saying, yeah, we're wrong, and based on Bruen, these laws are unconstitutional, they remanded it back down to Judge Benitez again. So we're back where we started, but we're in front of a judge who gets it, a judge who's seen tyranny up close and personal. He's a refugee from the Castro revolution, his family is. So we're very hopeful that he's going to get it. Now, he has ordered, he on his own motion, on his own motivation, put out an order that made it clear that the injunction that was in place before is still in place, in force and effect, and that anybody who has these magazines can continue to possess them legally, but you still can't import them. He's ordered the state to submit a brief within 45 days. And then 20 days after that, we have to submit ours. So we may have a ruling on the rest of this ordinance and on the rest of this statute banning magazines that hold over 10 rounds within about 60 days.
Well, maybe you can do a little bit of a. I did a video on this not too long ago, and maybe you can do a little bit of a classroom feature here. When these cases are vacated and remanded, does that mean that everything that was decided in that case by the lower court is gone? And that includes an injunction? Is that why Judge Benitez needed to come out and state this injunction is still in place? Why did he do that?
Well, just to make sure. I mean, we
Okay.
were ready to go into court and argue that it's still in place because it wasn't vacated. The injunction was not completely vacated by the Ninth Circuit. But he made that, we were going to file a motion. He made it unnecessary because he anticipated the need to make this clear and did it on his own.
Well, yeah, and I think that's a good move too, because while we are getting these questions in of, can we start, trading or purchasing all of these magazines that can hold more than 10 rounds, we're also getting a lot of people saying, shoot, the original law was that, I would have to turn this over to the government, and I can't own it at all. So can I even own this? So it's good that he put that out there, clarified everything. And yeah, so it's still legal to own these if you purchased them prior to the law or during Freedom Week. I'm really glad that he did that. So the path forward, I mean, is the path forward the same as we've already, done with this? We're going to keep moving up. I'm sure we'll see appeals from the state if Judge Benitez gives us a similar decision.
Probably. The argument now, the litigation is going to turn into something that it wasn't before, because the Bruen decision said the only gun control laws that are constitutional are those that were around at the signing of the Second Amendment or the 14th Amendment, when the Second Amendment was incorporated into the Bill of when the Bill of Rights was basically, most of it was incorporated into the Constitution. So if a law existed at that time, then the theory is, the fact is, that the drafters of the law contemplated those laws as being constitutional, and so they didn't intend to strike them down. But also, it doesn't have to be exactly like a law that existed then. It could be analogous. And this is where the devil is going to come out in the DOJ's arguments. Because they're going to argue that anything, they're going to argue that a 17th century mousetrap law is analogous to a ban on magazines that can hold over 10 rounds. They're going to be stretching things. We went from what was junk science, when they were trying to claim that certain laws made people safer, even though they didn't. But they would pull out these junk scientists, these experts, to say, oh yeah, this law worked. Now they're going to pull out junk historians and put them up there as experts, saying, oh yeah, this law existed and it's just like that law and it had the same reason. So we're going to get wrapped around the axle, tied up, litigating those kinds of issues. Now, I'm not sure if Judge Benitez is going to put up with it. There is a whole doctrine about what kind of expert testimony is legitimate and what isn't. Because there's a lot of experts out there that'll say whatever you pay them to say. So we'll see if the DOJ tries to pull out some experts, most of whom we know who they are already and we know what they're going to say, to try and claim that there was historical precedent for a magazine capacity limitation. Never mind that that's complete crap. All they were trying to do, remember, we went from muskets, single shots, to repeating rifles, and it was always something that was encouraged because they made them a more effective firearm for whatever purpose: hunting, war, defending against grizzly bears or Indians or whatever it was you were fighting at the time. There certainly wasn't anything that said we want to have less ammunition capacity in history. So I don't know what they're going to come up with, but they get paid to come up with something, so I'm sure they will.
Well, we've seen it before. I'm sure we'll see it again. And if you haven't guessed, you can also find the Duncan v. Bonta lawsuit tracked on the CRPA website as well. Go ahead and give it a visit. One-stop shop. You can find updates on all of these things. Chuck, I really appreciate you coming on for these updates. We're going to try to come out with them successively. Thank you again for being with us.
My pleasure. Listen, final word to CRPA members and followers and friends of the Second Amendment. Bruen isn't the end. Heller wasn't the end. Heller was the end of the beginning. Bruen is the end of the middle. And now we're entering into, I think, what will be the final phase of developing the law of the Second Amendment. And we really can't let our guard down. As happened after Heller, we can expect that certain progressive judges are going to try and find ways to uphold gun control laws and buy any flimsy little argument that the states may make to try and hold up their laws. There will be political influence as Gavin Newsom runs for president and blames the gun rights community for all the crime that lax Democrat politics have caused. Anyway, the point is, the fight's not over. We still need your support. We can't just mail it in. We have to fight in the trenches on every one of these cases. We will win, but we need your help. So please join, support the CRPA. It's through your involvement that we gain influence, and it's through our influence that we win political battles.
Definitely. Well, hey, yeah, thank you again very much, Chuck, for being on, and we'll see you soon.
My pleasure, guys.